Hi guys, Jordan from P&P Campers. I'm just going to do a handover video on this AutoTrail Arapaho. So it's based on the Fiat Ducato 3 litre turbo diesel engine. It's a 6-speed manual gearbox. So under the bonnet, over on the left hand side is where they keep most of the sort of consumable items on this particular sort of cab. So you've got your washer fluid up here, power steering fluid, engine coolant, brake fluid and engine oil down here. The engine oil dipstick is this red topped one just down here at the front. The actual weight of the vehicle is 5 tons, so you've got this 5 ton gross weight just there. You've got 0.550 on the air conditioning system, so that's how much you need to put back in, basically how much gas needs to go back in. Under this particular bonnet, you've got a couple of things over here. So you've got a positive terminal over here on the right hand side under this little cover that is directly to the engine battery, and you've got a negative terminal just here at the front. So if you wanted to jump start the vehicle, you've got your positive and negative just there under the bonnet. The actual engine battery itself, and the reason that they fit those is because the engine battery sits down here underneath this carpet, so you can get to this battery here, but if you're on the side of the motorway or something like that, you don't really want to have to be digging into the floor to get to the battery, so you can get to there from under the bonnet. Bonnet release handle is this one just here inside the passenger door. You have also got your jack and wheelbase kit just here underneath the passenger seat, and also like a lot of other AutoTrails, you've got this little handle here inside the passenger door. So that is your LPG locker handle. So what happens when you pull the actual handle, this pulls here and releases the locker. So to open this locker up, once it's closed, you need to push or pull on that little LPG locker handle inside the passenger door. So the actual LPG locker itself is very straightforward. You've got space in here for 2 13 kilo propane bottles. So at the moment, this is a 6 kilo propane. This is the ones that we give away with every van that we sell. So as I say, you can fit 2 13s if you want to, but it's a lot of the time we find that people do just keep the 2 6 kilos because, well, they last a hell of a long time anyway. So if you're going to go abroad or something like that, or you're going to go away in the van for a long time, then perhaps you'd have 13s, but that's up to you. So to turn the bottle on, we go anti-clockwise around to the left, and I always recommend to go all the way on until you can't turn it anymore, so that when you come back to the bottle to turn it off, you can only go one way, which is clockwise, round to the right to turn the bottle off. So just a little tip there: if you want to turn it on, turn it all the way on so that you can't go wrong when you go to turn it off. So the actual pigtail hose just here itself, so you've got just trying to see the date on that, 2023 date on that one, so you've got till 28 to replace this pigtail hose. When it comes to switching between bottles, it's literally just a case of taking off this nut just here, putting it onto the other bottle and just nipping it up. So that is all you need to do to replace or switch between 2 bottles. The yellow lever inside here on the regulator, you don't need to know about that. That's literally just for our testing purposes, so you don't need to do anything with that at all. And the only other thing is to make sure that you turn the bottle off before you start driving. So it's really important to make sure that you've got that gas turned off. The very last thing that you or the fire brigade want in a crash is 30 millibars of propane gas coming into the van. So it is quite important actually that you switch these bottles off before you start driving. Alright, so above the on the top of the van here on the near side, you've got the full size wind out awning. This has been lubricated and checked as part of the habitation check. The habitation door itself opens up and has got a little latch just here to stop it from sort of flopping about in the wind. So you've got that just there. The hab door itself has got this here, which is actually a window, so you can pull that down from the top and it will open. Because of that, you've got the fly screen and the blackout blind there as well. both working nicely, and the bin there on the door. So just inside the habitation door, you'll notice up the top here you've got a little black button at the bottom, and what that'll do is it will bring your step in and out. So if you press on that button there, the step will go in and out. You will also find when you press the lock button, obviously all the doors are open at the moment so it won't work, but when the doors are shut and you go to lock the vehicle, the step will go in when you press the lock button, and it will come back out again when you press the unlock back door button. Right, so these two vents just here are both to do with your fridge. So if you wanted to get access to the back of the fridge, which you shouldn't need to do, but if you did, you can get to it from there and there. This is your awning light, this one just here, that comes on with the aux button on the control panel. You've then got your boiler vent just here. So if you have got the boiler lit up on gas, you will feel hot air coming out through the sides of this. You will also find that it will form some condensation up here. It's totally normal, it just means that it's working properly. Next one over is your external gas point. So if you did have a gas fitting to go in there, or an external barbecue or something like that, that's where your external gas fitting would go. And as long as you've got the gas switched on in the locker up there, you should have gas coming through this point up here. Freshwater filling point is this one just here. So to get this to go in and out, it's a little bit awkward sometimes. It's one of the main things that we get asked about. From off the vehicle itself, to actually put it back on, what you need to do is find where it stops. So you basically get it in there and you see it pushes in a little bit. When you get to that point there, push in and round to the right until it stops, and then you can put your key in and lock it. When you go to unlock it, you push in and around to the left until it stops, and then you'll be able to take it out. So if I just show you, I'll just grab the key. Once I've pushed it in and round to the right until it stops, I can put the key in, twist it whichever way it will go, take the key out, and now it will just spin. So I can't take that out at all. So if it's just spinning like that, that means it's locked. So key in, twist it till it stops, key out, and now when I do it, it comes out. So the locker at the back just here, you have got one on the other side as well, which is exactly the same, but just gives you access to this nice big garage at the back. So the garage goes right the way through to the other side, as you can see. Your awning winder is this one just here, inside here. Not much else to show you really in there. I just thought I'd open it up so you can see. So what I'll do now is I'll walk around to the other side, because you've got a few more bits on the off side that I need to show you. Quite a big vehicle this one, so it's going to take a little while on the video. So you've got this really nice big long locker down on the off side. So that comes open just by literally pulling it up like so. And what it is it's basically a wet locker. So you've got all of these external storage things that can just get soaking wet. They're not going to be damaged by any water. You've also got access in here to your leisure battery, your electric hookup point, which can run down this little gap here, meaning that you can completely close this up and lock it with the hookup still plugged in. And then you just got more storage along here. You have got your wastewater drain off point just there. So if you need to drain out your wastewater, you've got that little handle just there. Literally just turn that handle 90 degrees and any water will come out from there. Just push that down for a minute. So this is your external hot and cold water point. So if you've got the water hot inside, you will be able to use that and get the water coming through nice and hot from there. You do need to make sure that you've got water in the fresh tank in order to use this, and make sure that the pump is turned on. So the last locker that I need to run you through on the outside, on the offside here, is the toilet cassette locker. So to remove the cassette, it's as easy as lift up this little orange thing here at the front, which by the way is actually a pull out handle there, so you can actually walk it along. Just push that back in quickly. So once you've got the cassette out to here, you will then be able to take it all the way out and, you know, take it wherever you need to take it. All you need to know really is that you empty it out from here. When you're emptying it out, you should be holding down this little orange button at the back. And once you've emptied it out and you want to go and put it back in, you just need to use this cap here as a measurement for the blue fluid to go back inside here. Give it a little swoosh about and then push it all the way back in, making sure that that little clip there goes over this lip. If that little clip doesn't go over the lip there, the seal that sort of makes the seal between the toilet and the cassette won't be quite sealed properly, so you won't, you know, it'll come out either side of the cassette, which you don't want. So that is all of the lockers and little bits and pieces that I need to show you on the outside. So what I'll do is I will jump inside and show you through the cab first, and then I'll get into the back end and show you what else we've got. So got a nice high spec in the cab. So you've got the 6-speed manual gearbox. So I was going to jump in and show you properly. So you've got the 6-speed manual gearbox. Reverse is lift up on the back, over and to the top left hand side. You've got a couple of USB points that have been fitted aftermarket. They're not original, but they do work. Screen up here, so that will come up with your little reversing camera screen here. So when you put it into reverse, you should have a little screen come up with that. You got your air conditioning switch from this one, and your normal heater controls just underneath that. You've got your hazard warning lights down there in the middle. You can lock and unlock the cab from those two buttons there. You've got the optional cruise control there as well, which is always nice. Just trying to see if there's anything else. Oh, you've got the factory fitted blinds here as well. So if you wanted to use these blinds, you squeeze together these little buttons and then you can pull the entire thing out. It'll go all the way across and meet up like that. So easy as that for that. Just make sure that you're nice and careful when you're trying to put these back together, because it can be a little bit funny how they go back in. There you go. So they're the factory fitted Remus blinds. You have got the same for the front windscreen as well. They do meet in the middle to form that sort of join in the middle there. A little magnetic strip runs through it. Right, so this particular model is a six berth with 6 seat belts. So you've got a sleeping berth over the top just here. So this pulls out towards you and makes it into a nice big double bed. You've got lights, a couple of windows with fly screens at the top there. So you've got all of that, and your curtains that come across here as well. You've got 2 rear-facing seats, 2 forward-facing seats, lap belts towards the back, over-the-shoulder belts towards the front. And we've got a massive U-shaped lounge to the rear of the van. So the U-shaped lounge is really popular because it means that you can leave it as it is now, you know, throughout the day, and then you've got a massive lounge area easily to seat, you know, 6, 7 or 8 people. You've got a massive standalone table that sits in the middle just here as well. But it then also means that you can pull these slats just here, so you literally just pull on the slat and pull it all the way out until it stops, and then use all these cushions to make into a massive bed here. So it makes one of the biggest double beds you'll ever see. And all these cushions are obviously designed to be nice and comfortable, you know, comfortable enough to sleep on. So yeah, really popular layout in this particular one. Huge amount of worktop space in here for the kitchen. And because it's a British built vehicle, you do have the ability to use pretty much everything on either gas or electric, not just gas. So for example, you can use the cooker here with the electric ring or the gas burners. You can get the water hot on gas or electric, and you get the van hot on gas or electric, the fridge, etc. So what I'll do is I think I'll probably start up there on the control panel, and then I'll show you through this area over here, which is your power supply unit. And then what I'll do after that is I'll kind of just run through all of the individual appliances, and then hopefully that'll be about all we need to go through. So up above the door, we have got the control panel. So I'm just going to zoom in a little bit. So this is a Sargent control panel, and I say it's a Sargent control panel because it links up directly over here to our Sargent power supply unit. So it's an EC325 power supply unit and the correlating control panel. So we've got a main power switch over the top left hand side here, and I've turned that on, and basically what that does is it gives us power going to the majority of the 12 volt stuff. So that's our lights, little sockets and things like that. So main power switch is just going to be your general 12 volt power. We've then got the water pump switch, which if your freshwater tank is pretty much empty, it will make that noise until you press this button here. So that's just telling us that it doesn't really want the pump to be turned on because it reckons there's nothing in the water tank. There's a little bit in the water tank. I literally put a couple of watering cans worth of water into it, so it's not quite registered that there's anything in it yet, but there is. So in that particular case, if I know that there is some water in it, I'll just turn it off like I've done there, and I can go ahead and use the tap if I want to. You've then got aux, which I said on the outside turns on and off your external awning light. So if you want to have the awning light turned on, you turn the aux button on. The last button on the left hand side here, this one at the top, is one that you probably aren't likely to use. What it does is it basically takes the power. It's your battery selector, okay? So at the moment, when that light isn't turned on, when it's completely off like it is now, the power is being drawn from the leisure battery, and if we're hooked up on the mains like we are now, the charger is charging the leisure battery as well. So the battery that we've got selected at the moment, with that light turned off, that one there turned off, is the leisure battery, because really the leisure battery is there for us to use our power in the back end of the van for. That's why it's there. So the only reason that you would want to turn that button on, so if we press it now, the only reason I would ever want to do that is if I wanted to charge the vehicle battery via the electric hookup. So because we've selected the engine battery now, all of the lights and everything 12 volt inside this vehicle right now is being powered by the vehicle battery, which is why we very rarely want to use that button. But as I said, if you, for whatever reason, if you have the electric hookup plugged in and you know that your engine battery is a little bit flat, you can turn that button on in order to allow the electric hookup to charge the engine battery instead of the leisure. So that's the only real reason that you would want to use that. But as I say, for the majority of the time, you're going to want to leave that button off and allow it to use the leisure battery's power to power the back end of the vehicle. So once we've got these power switches on and we've got, you know, whatever we want to be on over here switched on, we can then go through this little switch just here, this button at the top, and then go through the actual sort of functions of the control panel. So we can set alarms, we can set the clock time, water tank fill, you don't need to worry about that one. Pump select, so again, that's one that we don't need to worry about, you can leave that on internal. Battery current, external temperature, wastewater level, freshwater level, the leisure battery type, that is correct. Main supply on, that's because we've got the electric hookup plugged in. Vehicle battery voltage 12.6, which is good, and leisure battery voltage. Okay, so that is the control panel. We've got your power switches on the left hand side, and on the right is basically just flicking through, telling us what's going on in the vehicle. So all your battery voltages, water levels, all that sort of stuff. Over on the right hand side, I'm going to run through these bits in a minute. Okay, so I'll just turn that light off again. So these two here on either side, I'm going to run these through in a minute. That's to do with the appliances. These two here are both to do with lights. All right, so you've got your over counter lights just there. and all the rest of them are individual switches elsewhere. All right. So the power supply unit is the next bit I'm going to show you. So this is a really important little area. So not only is it a power supply unit in the sense that all of your power comes into this box here and then gets sent around the vehicle from there. So it just goes to all of the different places that it needs to go to. But it's also your 12-volt fuses and your trip switches are under that little cover. Okay, so this one box in this cupboard here is essentially the heart of the vehicle. This is where everything that has any electricity goes to before it gets sent off to where it needs to go to. So if you have any issues with anything electronic in the vehicle, this is normally the first place that I would go to look. So, for example, the only reason I'm going through this with you is because it's a really handy thing to have. Not all motorhomes have this so easily accessible. So, for example, let's just say we came into the van one day and we couldn't get any lights to come on whatsoever. You know, if you have one light that won't come on, then I wouldn't bother looking up here. I'll be looking at the bulb. But if you can't get any lights to come on in the vehicle whatsoever, I'll come in here and I'll have a little look here. So just check here, see which one says lighting. So front lighting, rear lighting. So what I would do then is I would just take this cover off, which is a little bit tricky, but you can get it off. And then I would be checking either one of these, whether it's the front lights or the rear lights. I would just take out one of these fuses and check it. So it literally is as easy as that. If you have a problem with something, you can come in here and it will literally tell you what fuse to look at. Same goes for the mains. If you've got the mains hookup plugged in and one of your mains appliances or the sockets won't work, you can come here and it tells you underneath which one does what. So we've got, let's just say for example, we come into the van one day, we've got the mains hookup plugged in, but we can't get this singular hob to work on the electric. I'd come in here, I'd have a little look and see there the first one says sockets/hob, and I would just check that that first one there is upright. So it's literally as easy as that. The light at the top just there that is currently lit up, you probably can't see because of that light. That light at the top there that's lit up says charger. So that just basically means because the charger itself, the mains charger, sits inside this box, that's just telling us that the charger is working and doing its job. This black box here on the right hand side is all to do with the entertainment system, which is another factory fitted thing from AutoTrail, which comes down from here. You can see the telly's on like that. So that telly will come straight on when you have your TV aerial booster turned on, which is that box over in the top right hand side with the red light on it. I'm going to assume that this is a remote for this, which it is. So it is genuinely as easy as that. If you want to turn your power on to the entertainment system, you got a little button just down here, which you can turn it on and off with. Turn your aerial socket on up there, and then you've got the remote for the telly. Doesn't get much easier than that. So what I'll do now is I'm going to move on to the individual appliances. So I'll start at the front just here with the cooker. I very rarely spend much time going through these cookers because it's literally as easy as a normal household one. But if I just show you briefly, so we've got the 3 burners at the top of the cooker here on gas. So if I just show you how to light these up, you turn whichever one you want to turn on and push it in whilst pressing on this little ignition switch over here on the right. So have a look. Burner comes on, just leave it on for a couple of seconds just to get the thermocouple nice and hot, and then you can let go of that and it should stay on. Same goes for all the rest of them. All right, so you've got these 3 burners at the top. That is bottom left, bottom right, top right, and then you have got grill and oven. So they're all of your gas ones there. The one on the top left is obviously, as I said, this is your electric ring. So that when it comes on, you will get a little red light coming on there as well. Make sure that you've got the grill door open when you're using the grill. And obviously shut the oven door when you're using that one. Because it's a gas oven, you've literally got the gas marks on the dial itself. But that's about it, really. Along from here, we've just got absolutely tons of storage. Loads of storage throughout there. So, next thing I'm going to show you is going to be the taps and the pump. So I'm going to sort of run through how you need to use the pump and the water system in these vans. So let's just say, for example, I've got more water in the vehicle than we've got at the moment. I know for a fact that at the moment I've got enough water to draw the water through and show you, but in sort of real life, if you like, you might want to have a bit more water in here so that it actually shows up on your control panel. So you go through to the water tank, fresh water there. Really, you would want that to be at sort of 25 or 50%. But I know that we've got enough water in here at the moment for me to show you what's going on. So you want to make sure you've got water in the tank. Make sure that your water pump switch is turned on, which it is. You've got a little blue light next to it. And then we can go ahead and use the water from any of the taps. Now, one really, really important thing when it comes to using the water systems is that you make sure that the boiler is full of water. So that might not sound like a very important thing, but it really, really is. If you light the boiler up on the gas or on the mains or whatever, if you try and get the water hot and there's not enough water in the boiler or there's no water in it at all, you're going to run into some serious problems where you're going to probably have to replace the boiler. So it's really important that you make sure the boiler's full before you start trying to get it hot. So the only way to do that is literally by doing what I'm going to do now. So making sure we've got water in the tank, the pump is turned on, and then make sure that you get water coming through nice and clearly on the hot side of the tap. So I'm going to do that now. Pump's kicked in. Tiny bit of air coming through. And now I can switch that off. Make sure the pump turns itself off, which it just did. Water's running nicely through the drain. And just literally doing that, so making sure that I've got water coming through the hot side of the tap there. If the boiler wasn't full of water and the drain was open, which I'll show you where it is in a minute, if there was no water in the boiler at all, we would not have had the water coming through nicely like that. The water would be coughing, spluttering, wouldn't really be getting anything coming through the tap. So as long as you've done that and you've seen that there's water coming through the hot side of the tap and that the pump turns itself off when you turn the tap off, that's fine, you're good to go. Right, so just on that same note, whilst we're talking about getting the boiler or making sure the boiler is full, down here, just next to where these carpets are at the moment, we have got your boiler drain off point. So this little yellow tab is basically a manual drain off point for the boiler, and the reason you would need that is if when it comes to winter, if you wanted to drain the boiler out in order to winterize the van, you need to lift that little tab upright. So where it is at the moment, where it's laying down, whether it's to the left or to the right, it doesn't matter, as long as it's not facing upright. So if you're going to be leaving the van in storage or leaving it locked up over winter and you're not going to use it, you have to make sure that you lift that tab up and drain the boiler out. It's probably the most important thing that I'm going to talk about in this whole video. So make sure that you drain that out before winter. It's a manual drain off, so it won't do it for you. But that's why I need to show you how to make sure that the boiler's full, because if you do empty that out, you do then obviously have to fill it back up again when you next come to use it. So, close that covered up. So, talking of the boiler, if you want to get the water hot, we've made sure first of all that we've got the water in the boiler. We can then come over here. If we want to use it on the gas, we've got this little dial here on the left that says Ultra Store. So literally, it doesn't get much easier than this. Turn the valve of the shroud here once to the right till we get a little green light. The boiler is lit straight up, I just heard it. And then we've got a temperature selector from 30 right the way through to 70. And basically, that's all you have to do. So now, once I've got that lit up, that's when you'll feel that hot air coming out through the vent on the outside that I showed you. Make sure that the cover is off the vent as well, the little cowl cover that will be on it when you collect the vehicle. Make sure that cover is taken off before you start trying to use it. So that's how you would use it on the gas. That's the one there on the left that says Ultra Store. In the wardrobe, if I show you, we've also got the option, as I said earlier, to use the hot water on mains. So if we have got the mains cable plugged in, we can turn this button on here. We'll get a little red light coming up inside that, and that'll basically just be telling us that the water is heating up inside the boiler. So again, Ultra Store is your hot water, Ultra Heat is your heating. So make sure that you turn this off when you don't want it to be on. And the reason I say that might be really self-explanatory, but if you leave these switches on and you plug the hookup cable in, you're not going to be immediately coming into the wardrobe and seeing those two lights. So every time that you finish using the water or the hot water on the mains, switch it off. Same goes for the Ultra Heat, really. Just good practice. So make sure they're off when you're not using them. But the one on the right is if you want to heat the water up on the mains. Right. So that's your hot water. Gas up here, mains in the wardrobe. The heating is, again, another thing that you can use on gas or electric. So this is the sort of top spec of this particular style of heater. This is a Truma Ultra Heat. You got the Truma Ultra Store boiler, Truma Ultra Heat heater. So you got all the same sort of branded stuff there. So these are unbelievably simple. Once you've used them a couple of times, they are so easy to use. You've got all of the gas side of things is on the left hand side of the heater itself, just literally by this little dial here. The main side of it I'll show you in just a minute. So if you want to light it up on the gas, I'm going to switch it off for now so you can see it lighting up and everything. When you want to light it up, it is literally just, you've got an automatic ignition, so you don't have to press any igniter buttons, which would normally be here. So all you need to do is turn this little valve here around to sort of 2 or 3 and press the button in. Don't know if we can see that already. I'm just going to allow that to cool down just a little bit because I've left it on. It's been on for about 20 minutes now, and because I've just turned it off, it's a bit too hot for me to turn it back on again. So in the meantime, on the right hand side of the heater, you've got the option of the fan. So you have all of the little sort of circular vents that you can see around the bottom of the vehicle. That is all running off this fan inside this unit. So to turn the fan on, we push this little button here to the left where it is now, and then we can select our speed. So you can hear now the fan speeding up and drawing more air or more heat from this heater and pumping it around to those vents. Now I will say another thing that a little tip for you, because you've got the option of the fan on the heater there, I always like to recommend anytime that you use the heater, leave that fan running for about 10 or 15 minutes to allow this heater to cool down by sort of a bit more spread out, if you like. So what I mean by that is when you turn these heaters off, the amount of heat that comes off of them is absolutely unbelievable. So if you don't have that fan switched on for 5 or 10 minutes after you've turned it off, sometimes you will find that these little cupboards here and stuff will start to sort of warp and get a little bit kind of the glue will melt inside them. So I would recommend always leaving that fan on for a little bit once you've turned these heaters off. Right, let me just see if I can turn this on now. Yep. So to turn the gas on, so to light it up basically, we turn this little valve round to 2 or 3 and push down. So if we look in the little peephole, you can see I've got the pilot flame is now kicked in now that I've lit it up on 2 or 3. So now all I'm going to do is lift up on the valve and twist it around all the way around at sort of 9 or 10. So if you see what happens, main flames kicked in and it's just back to working like normal now. So in short, light it up on 2 or 3 whilst pushing it down. That gets your pilot flame lit, and then release it and allow it to go all the way around to the top, and just make sure that that flame stays on. Once that flame's on and it's not going out, you're absolutely fine. You can just leave it alone and adjust your fan accordingly. As I said, you have got the option to use it on the mains as well. So if you do want to use it on the mains, first thing you need to do is obviously make sure your hookup's plugged in, and then come and twitch on the left-hand side switch inside here that says Ultra Heat on it. Come up to this one over here as well, which says Ultra Heat, and then select 500, 1000, or 2000 watts. So, the idea behind the 3 different options there, the 3 different power settings, is that you are using 3 different amounts of power. So if you're hooked up on the mains, you will have a maximum power that you can use. So that your household one will be obviously 13 amps, like a normal socket, depending on what socket you're plugged into. But if you go to a campsite, they will tell you how many amps you've got on the pole that you're plugged into. So if you're plugged into a 6 amp pole, straight away you can't use 2000 because that draws 8 amps. So you'd have to use 500 or 1000, which draw 2 or 4 amps. All right, so that's the idea behind those. It just gives you the option of using different power outputs depending on where you are plugged in. Right, so I'm going to stop the video now because it's getting a little bit long, and then I'll use, I'll do another separate video to carry on around the other appliances.